does your imagination conjure up pictures of the end of the world? Asteroids? Perhaps a world war? What about climate change? Or even aliens? Even if any of these things are true, there's a far greater danger hiding beneath the surface of the Earth that might destroy human civilization, and surprisingly, only few people are aware of it. According to a report by the BBC, even NASA sees them as one of the greatest natural threats to humanity, the Yellowstone supervolcanoes. Underground, beneath the peaceful landscapes of Yellowstone National Park in the United States, is a massive magma chamber. It is responsible for the geysers and hot springs that symbolize the region, but NASA scientists consider it to be one of the greatest natural risks to society as we know it, a potential supervolcano. NASA says that as natural threats to human civilization, supervolcanoes are a lot worse than asteroids. A scientist at NASA recently told the public something scary about the Yellowstone supervolcano and what NASA plans to do with it. What is this shocking news, and how does it affect people all over the world, especially in the United States? In today's video, we're going to talk in depth about this shocking news. The volcano beneath Yellowstone National Park is not like most volcanoes. It's hundreds of meters deep, bigger than Rhode Island, and has the potential to erupt with thousands of times more force than anything we've ever seen. It is one of 3 supervolcanoes in the US, and it is thought to be the most dangerous of the 3. If the volcano in Yellowstone blew, it would be a disaster. The eruption would send a taller than Mount Everest tower of ash into the air, covering nearby cities with more than a meter of ash and making huge clouds that would block the sun for decades. In the end, temperatures around the world would drop, plants would die, and agriculture would stop working. In fact, the UN says that there wouldn't be enough food for everyone on Earth in just over 2 months. Yellowstone has had eruptions like this before. In the last 2.1 million years, it has erupted 3 times. It happens about every 600,000 years. And when did it last erupt? About 600,000 years ago. Yes. But despite what these shocking headlines might make you think, Yellowstone is not going to erupt tomorrow, or even in 1,000 years. Scientists think that a super eruption might not happen again for a few million years or so. Or, with some clever science, we could stop Yellowstone from erupting ever again. This was the idea behind a thought experiment that was put together by a group of scientists at NASA JPL in 2015. What is it? Get the volcano to cool down. Volcanic eruptions are usually caused by heat in the first place. It comes up from the center of the Earth and builds up in the volcanic chamber until the pressure gets so high that it explodes. Yellowstone is the same way. It makes enough heat each year to run 6 industrial power plants. About 60 to 70% of that heat is lost through hot springs and geysers like Old Faithful, but the rest stays underground in the magma chambers of the supervolcano. Here is where the attack was set up by the scientists. In the scenario, they want to drill a number of wells all around the supervolcano. Some of the wells would be as deep as 10 kilometers below the surface, making them some of the deepest in the world. They would pump cold water down into the wells, which would cool the rock around the magma chamber over time, like how your car's coolant moves heat away from the engine. As the water moves through the chamber, it heats up to about 340 degrees Celsius, which is a nice bonus. So the plan is to send it back through the wells and use it to power an electric generator. This could power the area for tens of thousands of years, turning Yellowstone into a giant geothermal power station. And, in the end, it will pay for itself. The scientists came to the conclusion that yes, this could work in theory, but would we ever give it a try? Most likely not. For one thing, it would take about 16,000 years to get 20 gigawatts of energy out of the volcano in order to cool it down to a safe level. Not to mention that the plan would cost $3.46 billion. That's about 20% of NASA's budget for the whole year. Even worse, cooling the rock could cause cracks near the magma chamber. These cracks could lead to a super eruption, which is exactly what we want to avoid. But it's a good thing that the volcano is still sleeping, and likely will be for some time. Now, we'll tell you a little bit about the Yellowstone volcano's past eruptions and what might happen if it blows again. Given Yellowstone's history and the fact that magma is still there, it is possible that another eruption will happen in the future. However, scientists do not know when this will happen or what it will look like. The fact that these eruptions don't happen at regular times makes them hard to predict, and there's no direct way to see what's going on under a volcano. Still, scientists have gotten much better at predicting eruptions in the last 20 years or so, and there are now a number of signs scientists can look for that may indicate an eruption is about to happen. Researchers at the Yellowstone Volcano Observatory are always looking for signs like these in the area. They do this by using a variety of real-time technologies. There may be a lot of strong earthquakes, and the ground may change quickly. These things often happen in the days and weeks before a volcano erupts. Scientists think that before a big eruption, the Yellowstone supervolcano would be full of intense activity that would be much higher than normal background levels in many places. There may be signs of a huge eruption weeks, months, or even years before it happens. Because of the magma below the surface, the Yellowstone area has a lot of small earthquakes, shifting ground, and other types of geological activity. But as long as these things don't go too far from normal, they aren't seen as a sign that an eruption is about to happen. Scientists at YVO use a network of seismographs to track seismic activity. They also use the Global Positioning System and INSAR, or Interferometric Synthetic Aperture Radar, both of which are based on satellites, to track ground deformation, or the movement of the Earth's surface. GPS is used to measure horizontal and vertical movements at a specific site, while INSAR measures a large area at one point in time. This movement, especially uplift, which is when the ground rises, can be a sign that magma is moving toward the surface, but it doesn't always mean that an eruption is coming soon. Many volcanoes, especially calderas like Yellowstone, show signs of rising and falling for thousands of years before they finally erupt. In Yellowstone, for example, the ground can rise not just because magma moves up, but also because water or gas builds up. Still, scientists keep an eye on this kind of ground movement at Yellowstone to learn more about what fits with normal long-term trends and what might be a sign of an upcoming eruption. Carrie Cooper, a professor and chair of the Department of Earth and Planetary Sciences at the University of California, Davis, told the Associated Press, "The ground surface at Yellowstone is always moving, sometimes up and sometimes down. This wouldn't be cause for concern unless it was out of the ordinary." The Yellowstone supervolcano sits on top of a hotspot in the Earth's mantle, which is an area with unusually high temperatures that melts the material in the area. The magma that comes out of this eventually flows into a chamber just below Yellowstone. A Facebook video recently said something that wasn't true, that Yellowstone Park had been closed because of rising volcanic uplift, and that this was a sign that an eruption was about to happen. Even with the tools scientists have now, a study published last year in the journal Nature Reviews Earth and Environment found that giant supervolcano eruptions are hard to predict because, among other things, they vary in how quickly they start, how long they last, and how they start. These huge super eruptions are the most explosive volcanic eruptions on Earth, and they happen on average once every 100,000 years. The paper found that they can start out slowly and get worse over weeks or months, or they can get worse right away. Individual super eruptions, on the other hand, can happen over days to weeks, or even over decades. There's also a lot of difference in how they get started. The researchers said that big eruptions in the past helped define a supervolcano, but they're not always a good sign of how a volcano will act in the future. For example, if and when Yellowstone does erupt again, the worst-case scenario, on the other hand, would be a huge super eruption, which is not likely to happen in any given century. Even though this is very unlikely, it would be a disaster that would send huge amounts of ash and other debris into the air, which could change the climate around the world. But because there are so many unknowns, it is possible that Yellowstone will never have another eruption of this size. Other recent research has looked at what's going on underground in the Yellowstone area. This has helped scientists figure out how likely it is that the volcano will erupt. That pretty much wraps this video up, guys. Thanks for watching. So, what are your thoughts about Yellowstone supervolcano's potential eruption? Share with us in the comments below. Make sure you subscribe to this channel with a bell notification if you enjoy watching our content. We upload some awesome stuff here, which you will most certainly enjoy. Hit a like on this video and leave a comment below. See you guys in the next one.